ようこそ砂と黄金の国エジプトへ。はいどうも、お初にお目にかけます。地球上の全ての生きとし生きる者の嫌われ者キモイマン37と申します。よろしくお願いいたします。というわけでして、今回ですねお送りさせていただきますタイトルはこちら、アサシンクリードオリジンズディスカバリーツアーというわけでして、今回で動画本数的に言うと24本目ということで、今回もね、こちらの、ナビゲーター、ウィリアム・マイルズさんとともに、楽しんでね、旅していけたらいいなと思います。で、ディスカバリーツアーですね、やらせていただくときは、毎回ノーマイクでね、やらせていただいておりますので、今回もノーマイクでやらせていただきたいなと思います。また、終わりしなにですね、ご挨拶の方をさせていただきたいなと思いますので、何卒ご理解ご了承のほどよろしくお願いいたしますと。で、今回ですね、旅していく、エリアは、こちら、前回に続き、こちら、シワですね。シワのこの最後のスポットですね。ここと、で、ですね、こっちのですね、グリーンマウンテン、そうですね、グリーンマウンテンですね。ここの、ここら辺をね、この2つできれば回っていきたいなと思います。では、もしよろしければね、最後の最後まで、お付き合いくださいませ。よろしくお願いいたします。ではまた後ほど、すいません。バイバイ。
Welcome to Siwa. The Siwa Oasis is in the western desert of Egypt. Geographically, the Siwan Oasis is located in a depression 20 meters below sea level. Its natural springs and warm climate aided in the bountiful production of date trees. Though clearly influenced to some degree by Egyptian and African culture, the area's isolation resulted in a unique society and language. While they worshipped the same deities, Siwan temple architecture differed from traditional Egyptian temples. Old Kingdom Egyptians referred to the oasis as cauldron, due to its unique geographical structure. Oases were crucial for nomadic tribes and caravans. Without them, there was no chance of survival in an otherwise harsh landscape. As such, oases quickly became hubs for trade, as well as areas of political control. Because of the dry climate, there is very little rainfall to sustain the oases. Instead, underground rivers flood the natural basins. Since many oases have a north-south orientation parallel to the Nile, some geologists suggest they were once tributaries of the mighty river. There is evidence that ancient Egyptians attempted to create some oases. The Libyan oases are the best known, as they are geographically and culturally linked to the Nile Valley and the Delta. These western oases have a distinct geology from the other regions of Egypt. The most famous and important oases are Karga, Dakhla, Farafra, Baharia, and Siwa. The Spring of the Sun is one of many thermal sources in Siwa, with the particularity that Cleopatra would have bathed in this one, giving it its name. The presence of the source beneath was attested already by Herodotus during the 5th century BCE, when the oasis was called Amuneion by the Greeks of Cyrene. Oracles predicted the future, delivered omens that could be more or less obscure, and offered divine guidance. The Siwan Oracle was considered one of the 3 greatest of the ancient world, alongside the oracles of Delphi and Dodoni. Because of the Greek colonies in Cyrenaica, the temple associated Zeus with the worship of Ammon. It is no wonder that Alexander the Great made the perilous journey to Siwa in order to consult the oracle, emulating the actions of mythical heroes such as Hercules and Perseus. This action earned the approval of the oracle, who validated his claim as Pharaoh of Egypt. He was confirmed as the son of Ammon, conferring upon him the most legitimate claim to date of all Egypt's foreign invaders. The powerful and the rich would send gifts or travel great distances in order to ensure their good fortune by gaining the blessing of the Oracle of Siwa. Every successful blessing only increased the soothsayer's prestige. Runner Eubotus, a famous citizen of Cyrene, consulted the oracle in order to know if he would win the 93rd Olympic Games race in 408 BCE. He did, enhancing the standing of the Siwan Oracle in the process. The Temple of the Oracle of Ammon was built in the 6th century BCE by Pharaoh Amasis. In the game, its entrance is guarded by ram-headed sphinxes, the animal representing Ammon. They were inspired by similar statuary located at the British Museum. Another option would have a Greek-influenced representation of Zeus Ammon, a human-headed sphinx with horns. This representation of Zeus Ammon was very popular in Siwa.
Welcome to Roman military equipment. The strength of Rome was directly dependent on its military supremacy and fundamentally militaristic society. Regular citizens, comprised mostly of farmers and herders, joined to protect their land and families. In return for their service, members of this civic army were allowed to vote. Trained to be highly disciplined and obedient to superior officers, citizen soldiers developed a deep sense of loyalty to their city. The quality of the armor of a Roman foot soldier was intrinsically linked to his social status and wealth. Chainmail was the most commonly used type of armor. Scale armor, made famous in today's media, came into use after Caesar's time. Foot soldiers carried large and oblong shields, while the cavalry used smaller ones of Greek origin. Soldiers were expected to carry their own kit, including the tools required for the construction of forts and tents. Roman soldiers used the same types of weapons. The stomach and face were the most targeted parts of the body. As such, a legionary was equipped with two close combat weapons, a dagger and a short sword, known as a gladius. One of the most ingenious Roman weapons was the javelin. Its pyramid-shaped tip pierced the body, while its iron shank was designed to break upon impact, stopping the enemy from throwing it back. During their conquests, the Romans regularly transformed enemy technologies to add to their own formidable arsenal. After capturing a Carthaginian vessel, the Romans adopted its better features and constructed a superior fleet of ships. Adapting heavy artillery designs from Greek models aided the Romans in building catapults and ballistae. The latter became an iconic symbol of Roman warfare.
Welcome to the forts of Cyrenaica. Cyrenaica was a Libyan region under Roman control, gifted to Rome by one of Cleopatra's ancestors. The remains and foundations of ancient fortifications were discovered in the 19th century in the southwest of Cyrenaica, as well as a Roman garrison dating back to the 1st century CE. Evidence shows that these forts were of Libyan origin, rebuilt and modified by Roman engineers when Cyrenaica was part of the empire. Stone was the most commonly used material to build forts in Egypt and Cyrenaica. Though no real proof of a fortress similar to the one before you has been uncovered in that region, the team chose to add it as a worthy and awe-inspiring end-of-game challenge for the player. The forts of Cyrenaica were intended to prevent invaders from gaining access to the main route that led to the country's 5 most important cities. These forts were built close to coastal plains and deserts for added defense. 3 of these cities were recreated by the team: Balagrae, Apollonia, and Cyrene. Had it existed, the fort before you would have protected the road leading to Balagrae. Other than reference to an attack around 404 CE and a military reorganization by Emperor Justinian during the 6th century CE, we still know little of the Roman military presence in Cyrenaica. Welcome to Roman Aqueducts. Water management was taken seriously by the Romans, Cyrenaica benefited greatly from Roman administration with the construction of aqueducts and canals. The source of water varied depending on the location. Many aqueducts were built at the foot of the mountains, offering greater flow from the melting snow. The ability to transport water over a greater distance increased agricultural production. Some aqueducts were reported to be over 7 kilometers in length. Where the Greeks of Libya originally focused mainly on olive trees and figs, which required less water, the advent of Roman aqueducts allowed for a far greater crop diversity. Every farm's water use was carefully scheduled. The engineering methods used to create aqueducts were constantly reviewed, with a clear focus on exploiting the local environment. Materials, water usage, cleaning regulations, and a deep understanding of how to exploit gravity itself were all important concerns. Several fortresses were built to protect the aqueducts, basins, and cisterns. Additional water was collected with wells and cisterns, but aqueducts were the main supply of fresh water. The water was distributed based on the collective needs of the city, before the private needs of an individual. Almost all aqueducts ended in a fountain where the water circulated to clean the streets and supply bathhouses and latrines, thus improving the cleanliness of Cyrenaica's cities.
はい、というわけでして、今回ですね、切りもしたそうなので、この辺で終了させていただきたいなと思います。ここまでご視聴いただきまして、誠にありがとうございました。そして、ここまでお付き合いくださいまして、お疲れ様でした。ありがとうございました。今回もですね、またいろんな、ところにね、旅することができて楽しかったなと思います。水道とかもね、劇中、本編でもね、結構バイクさんで、あちこちね、登ったり降りたり、敵倒してみたりとかやってたんですけど、改めてこうやってね、その時代背景というか、建物とか、その施設そのもののね、背景とかっていうのを詳しくね、こうやって知ることができたのは非常に楽しいなと思いましたね。はい。で、自分ですね、これ以外にもシリーズ動画ですね、いくつか出させていただいておりまして、まず、アサシンクリードオリジンズ DLC 第2弾、ファローの呪い、 で、あとは、狼絶景版にファイナルファンタジー15。で、あとは、シャーロック・ホームズ悪魔の娘と、あと、シーンとザ・シルバーケースを出させていただいております。で、それ以外にですね、不定期なんですが、ニコ生、Twitch、YouTube 等で、ブロードキャスト配信させていただいております。で、タイトルは、バットマン、アーカム・アサイラム、新三国無双8。で、あとは、ワンピース海賊無双3ですね、やらせていただいております。ブロードキャスト配信させていただくにせよ、今回みたいにね、動画をアップさせていただくにせよ、必ず事前に自分がやらせていただいております、Twitter 等でご報告させていただいております。毎回動画説明欄ですね、自分がやらせていただいております、各種 SNS の URL をリンクっていう形でもって貼らせていただいております。お気の方が向きになりましたので構いませんので、もしよろしければぜひそちらの方もチェックされてみてください。よろしくお願いいたします。で、今回ですね、奇跡的にもこちらの動画をご視聴くださった方の中で、自分みたいなのでもね、いいなと思っていただけたらで構いませんので、チャンネル登録、あとは動画の高評価等をぜひよろしくお願いいたします。で、あとはそうですね、大丈夫ですね、ごめんなさい。今回ですね、視聴小生キモイマン37がお送りさせていただきました、アサシンクリードオリジンズディスカバリーツアー、動画本数的に言うと24本目ですね、これで終了させていただきたいなと思います。で、自分ですね、毎回、動画、シリーズ動画ですね、出させていただくときは、2本ずつ出させていただいておりますので、次回は25本目、あるいは26本目ということで、よろしくお願いいたします。改めまして、ここまでご視聴いただきまして、誠にありがとうございました。そして、ここまでお付き合いくださいまして、お疲れ様でした。ありがとうございました。また次回、あるいは別の動画にて皆様にお会いできることを楽しみに、今回これで失礼させていただきます。ありがとうございました。バイバイ。